Grand Rising, Grand Rising. I am going live with a special guest, Kiev, who's a mentor of mine and an amazing human. It's 9/11 where I am, which is like in alignment. 9/11s are portals to a new world. So, anyways, today we're going to be talking about how growth or uncomfortability will equal growth in some cases, and how how to move through it, how it feels like, what our experiences have been, and things of that nature. So let me invite Kiev on and see if she's ready. I have oh I think she's here. I'll wait till she joins the live. Let's see.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, awesome. So I was just sharing with everyone that you've been a mentor of mine for a while now, and um, that I'm sure both of us have experienced similar things with being uncomfortable, and how it sometimes doesn't mean we're in danger, but that we're actually growing. So I'd like for you to please introduce yourself and share what your experience has been with growth and uncomfortability.
Oh, I heard the last one. I heard it's hard for me to hear you. Okay. I heard that you would like for me to introduce myself and what?
And what your experience has been with growth and being uncomfortable, and like the relationship between the two things.
Hmm, that's a great question. Um, well, there's like so many things like rushing through my head right now. I don't know where to start. I think for me, ever since I was a little girl, like um, I guess my family setting and everything about me was a little bit, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, I would say different. And and so it was always kind of an obvious factor to me that there's a lot of growth in being uncomfortable. There's a lot of growth that happens when you're not sure where you're going or what you're doing or when you're doing something new, right? Like and now as a mother, like I look at my children, like, and the most basic things like learning how to walk, right, where you're just like, yeah, they take their first steps and they're kind of wobbling around and they're falling and they're hitting their heads and they're, and even once they've learned to take those first steps, you still kind of like you have to be a, perfect perfectionner the walk. I don't know how to say that in English. Just like you they're like walking, but they're like wobbly, right? and 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 then eventually you start walking the way that you walk as an adult, right? And so everything that you're doing in your life, you're always getting uncomfortable, right? For any kind of growth to happen, and that's just the basis of being a living being, right? um but the thing is, I think there are some people in the world that want to go further. And for me, that's what it's always been about, right? Like always taking it to the next level and never getting comfortable, because then I just thought life would be boring, right? And so anything that I do in life is trying to get uncomfortable, right? So that I can learn. And then once you learn something, whether it's in your behavior or in something that you're actually going to do with your hands, like something that you're going to physically do, or incorporate something new into your life, there's going to be that moment of discomfort, and that moment of discomfort is super important for you to pass that, right, and to learn and to grow. And so um, there's so many examples that I can take right now, but I think one of them, I know you and I are like both foodies, right? We're big into food, so maybe I can start with it. So that one is the one that's like flashing into my mind right now, is when I was 18 years old, and I had eaten meat my entire life. I was brought up eating meat, right? There was a day that I decided, there was the day that I decided that I no longer wanted to participate in the meat industry. You know, like to me, that's what it was about. I just didn't want to be a part of it. And I, so I stopped eating meat, which wasn't my first intention. My first intention wasn't actually to stop eating meat, but that's something, you know, it was just to be careful where I was getting my meat from, right? Because I didn't want to support the meat industry. I didn't want to support it. And those first 3 months when you change your diet, right? It's like you've had the same diet your entire life. That's why you go, and that's something that we do 3 times a day your entire life. Like it's not something that's easy to change, right? It's a habit. It's really we're creatures of habit, right? It's a habit that I had to change, and and it took a few months. Like it wasn't overnight that it was easy for me to not eat meat. Today it's been more than 15 years, and like I I don't even think about it. You know, it's not something that is challenging for me anymore. But I know that the first months of like cutting that out of my diet was really hard. Like learning it, and it wasn't just about cutting it out. It was about what was I going to replace that with, right? What was I going to bring into my diet? What was I like? How was I going to learn? I had to learn how to cook, right? I had to learn about spices. I had to learn about vegetables. I had to learn about fruits. And so that moment when you have to do that every single day, you know, it wasn't a habit that I was taking on once a week. It was a habit that I was creating 3 times a day, every single day. Um, there were moments of discomfort. There were moments where like my mother made my favorite meal and it had chicken in it. And it's like hot on the kitchen table with like a fork in it. And I'm like, oh, I can't eat that. I don't want to eat that. But like, I want to eat it because it's my entire childhood, right? It's what I grew up with. And so you know, the first months were difficult in that sense, you know. And then after a couple years, it was just, it just became a norm, right? I kept learning, I kept growing, and now it's like something I don't even think about anymore because it has become a habit,
Mm.
right? And so I think, you know, that's one experience in there that you have to sit in that discomfort, you know, and challenge yourself so that you can get to that point that you dream of being at,
Mm.
right? So whether it's because, you know, I just came up with that food example in my life, but you know, there are other things like starting your own business, or where like that's a really scary one, you know, that's a really really scary thing to do, because you're investing your time, you're investing your energy, you're investing your money. It's a very scary thing to do, and I've done it as well, and it's something that, um, once you do it, and that you make all the mistakes in the world, and that it, you know, and that you make it happen, and you look back and you're like, okay, well that was worth it,
Yeah.
you know, or not, but at least you have that new knowledge for you to grow and do better next time, right? So I think those are all, it's important to getting uncomfortable in life, and and to create these new habits for you to become the person that you want to be,
Mm.
right? And we all thrive to be something. We all have a different ideal of like what we want in our lives and who we want to be, and there are steps to take, and sometimes you're shy, or you're timid, or you're insecure, you didn't think it's going to work out, or you know that, or you have self-limiting beliefs, and you're like, oh, I can't do this and I don't know how, and it's just about um, overcoming those and just doing it anyway,
Mm.
you know, doing it scared. Like to me, that's the most important thing, just like doing it scared and doing
Yeah.
it not knowing and not having to. A lot of us want to be professionals when we start. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. You just have to start and keep going. So that wasn't an introduction to myself, actually. That was just like a rant of my thoughts.
Okay, girl, preach. Thank you. No, that was really good, and you touched on like a lot of the things. And one thing that really stuck out to me was like, I'm very earth-based person. So for me, what stuck out to me was when you said you were doing something and you had to replace what you were doing. Like you had to have a plan for what you were doing. And I feel like a lot of people can go, and do the uncomfortable thing without a plan. But I think it's also okay to like have a plan too, for replacing, your old habits with new healthier habits or whatever it is that you're doing. So I really like that. My next question was going to be, what kind of mindset does it take in order to kind of like go after the thing that scares you? And you answered that a little bit too. So I don't know if you wanted to touch more on that, or if you had anything else to share.
I love that mindset. Mindset is a huge part of my life. Like and the older I get, the more I realize, and the more people I meet, mostly, the more people I meet, the more I realize how much mindset um, is important. I grew up with a mom who told me like all the, made me repeat mantras in the mirror, like they were in French, so let me do the translation here. Things like I believe in myself and I have everything I need to achieve whatever I want to be, right? And things like that, and really, and the mindset of like everything's going to be okay, like my mom, everything's fine. It wasn't even everything's going to be okay. It was like everything's fine.
Yeah,
Like shit's hitting the fan, and it's like
it's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, we're good. Yeah, it's fine, it's good. Like my mom really has that belief of like, yeah, we're going to figure it out. When the problem arises, we're going to figure it out. And so I think I have that mindset from her. It's kind of, it's in me, and I think that's a huge part of it. It's almost like being detached. You're detached of the outcome. And when you're detached of the outcome and you're kind of just, yeah, you have like a goal as the outcome, but being detached of it and not feeling like when you're not achieving that goal that you're not, that you're failing in any way, right? And that's a mindset thing, right? That's really you having the power to kind of control your thoughts, right? I'm a strong believer in thoughts are real, right? They're like little atoms in your brain, and so if you're going to feed those little atoms for them to become bigger and stronger, right? And so that's it. Your mind is a very, very powerful thing, and so I often, um in moments where goals seem unachievable, or in moments where you're being faced with adversity, or in moments where you're like, okay, well, how do I, like, this didn't work. How do I keep going forward if I feel like I'm failing? Like there's no, I don't ever feel like I'm failing. I never feel that. I just feel like, okay, well, that was a mistake. How to not do that again, right? And how to keep going. And it's mindset, and it's really hard, right? Because our mind's already programmed a certain way, and you have everything from your environment and your experiences and your childhood, and like everything, right? You have, and now with social media, you have everything that you're feeding your brain with and all that. So it's really hard for you to like shift mindset, right? And we say it like the older we get, the more like you get into your own ways, and it's hard to change your ways. It's not like a child who's like a sponge, right? And so but we have to be able to do that. If we don't have that kind of mindset, we have to be able to change it and be like, okay, like I can do this. How am I going to take a step forward? How am I going to overcome this? And I'm not saying this about just like business or food or any of that. It's just like anything that you want to do, like even in a relationship, right? Even when you're in a relationship with somebody, like how are you going to overcome the obstacles of being in a relationship with somebody else? Because those arise no matter who you are, no matter how great and merged two people can be, or no matter no matter what happens in your business, or whatever happens as a parent, or all of these things, like how are you going to move forward? And it's really a thing about mindset. And so there's a big part of me that's, it's not that is very detached. I don't let those things affect me. It's kind of like when adversity comes, it kind of just like slides off me like oil. You know, it's just like,
I love
like,
that.
all right, see ya. You know? And so I think that's a really, really important thing. And I'm not saying detached in a way that like, yeah, you don't give a shit and it just kind of like goes, but I'm saying detached in a way that like you don't let it consume you, right? You don't let the obstacles or the adversity or all those things consume you to a point of wanting to give up what you really, really want out of life or from your or out of yourself, from yourself. And so, did that answer anything?
Yes, like that. I was gonna say, I liked when you talked about how thoughts are like you think they're like physical, like they're atoms in your brain, because I'm a really strong believer that um, your beliefs are just thoughts that you have over and over and over again, and that your thoughts actually turn into like physical things.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be really selective about what thoughts you're like, okay, I'm cool with this, I accept this, I receive this, and what thoughts you're like, okay, basura, which just means trash in Spanish, but like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore this one. So I really like that. And yeah, I think you really do have a strong mindset, Kian, because you've been through a lot, and of course, I don't know everything you've gone through in your life, but I really do respect you and look up to you, um, and I know, with building your own business and having kids and all that, you definitely have to have like a mind of steel. so, so yeah, um, I don't really have too many other questions. I think like your share was so beautiful. Was there anything else that you wanted to leave us with? Any more nuggets of wisdom? Because that was like, that was bomb AF.
Oh, thank you, Genesis. That's so kind. You're so kind. I adore you. I think you're like the sweetest person in the world.
Thank
There's
you.
like no one sweeter than Genesis. Um, nah, man. I think the only thing is, and I try to live this by being the example and to inspire others to not do the same thing as me, but to like whatever it is that people want out of life. Oh, this is gonna make me cry. Um, whatever people want out of life, whatever people want to be out of life, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to do, to please just do it. um I'm a strong believer in there's a lot of stuff in the world that is that, and we're bombarded with this, right, in the news and on social media and everything. There's a lot of things in the world that are dark. There's a lot of darkness, and there's a lot of hate, and there's a lot of struggling, and there's a lot of there's just a lot of it. And for me, if everybody could strive to be who they want to be and do what they want to do, I think people would be happy. And it's not even about finding happiness. I don't really believe in that. It's just in finding peace. um and if we could do that, each one of us just find that peace of being and living and enjoying that, then I feel like we can be more accepting of one another and have a lot more light in the world, and I know that light doesn't come without darkness, but I think that it's important for us to, I think we're at a stage now in humanity where we can really be who we want to be and live the lives we want to live, and it's not just about survival anymore. So I really urge people to do just that, and whatever it takes to get there, whatever it takes for you to be at peace with yourself. Well, I think that that's what people should be doing, because when you have peace in your home, peace in the mind, peace in the heart, you got peace in the world. And so I think that's what I have to share. Do
Well,
you,
thank
baby, do you?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think we all needed to hear that, and I'm just so grateful that we went live today together, and that I was able to share space with you. This was really good. So thank you, thank
I'm
you, thank you.
so happy. I guess we had an idea what we came here for, and you never really know what comes out of a live. So I'm grateful to be able to share a little piece of my mind with you and with the world and with everyone. So thank you for amazing questions.
Oh, no, no problem, no problem. Um, so to everyone who's watching, yeah, if you like to follow Kiev, she's amazing and she does so many cool things. Just make sure you follow her. I tagged her in this live. And I hope you all have an amazing day. And yeah, that's all I have. Bye.
Bye, Genesis. Thank
No
you.
problem.